What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate, reverse rants, no hate. So, we had a lot of boxing yesterday. I'm going to talk about two fights particular in this video, and that's Dominic Breazeal, one. And starting with his fight, the fight pretty much went the way I expected it to go. Wallin outboxing him. Breazeal is just too slow. And watching this fight, he looks even slower. He was blinking his eyes a lot, closing his eyes, turning his head. He was losing his balance a lot. I had the giraffe legs, the baby giraffe legs. He's stumbling all over the place. He's a journeyman. I said this last year. You know, Dominic Breazeal has had too many wars, man. And it's like I tell people, everybody jump up screaming about this guy's a warrior, this guy's a warrior, that guy's a warrior. But it's like this is the kind of fights that people love to see. Guys who will just stand there with no real skill and just throw shots until somebody drops. And basically, they have shorter careers. And at the end of the day, if you look at Dominic Breazeal, and you could just see he's even slower than he was before. His reflexes are trash. His reflexes are literally like he just there to be hit, man. His counter punching, everything. He's just a slow guy. So he walks you down. He has no defense, and he pretty much is just a guy that I can't see anybody wanting to fight Dominic Breazeal as if this is a great fight. This is going to be a good fight. For Dominic Breazeal to me, it's not exciting to have two guys who they just show no skill. They just stand here and just trade. A lot of people, oh, that was a great fight. No, it was just because two guys had no skill, and this is all they could do. Just stand here and just throw shots and too slow to get out the way of what's in return. Things like that. He needs an opponent that's just as slow and as sloppy as him. And who really wants to see that? What's the purpose? Because where do you go from there, right? Because when you get back to the top guys, what happens now? He's a journeyman. He's not as good as he think he is. I've been saying this for the longest. Even when he was at his best, when he was undefeated, he was always there to be hit. When AJ beat him, he was undefeated. And it was like, okay, there's levels between him and AJ. You can see the difference clearly. So, what Dominic Breazeal had started getting some notoriety for is the dog fights that he was in. And if you look at it, they were all against guys who were not championship material. So, when other people are so impressed by this, I'm not. Now, Wallin is a work in progress, and he understands that he is also. I watched the press conference as well, and he was talking about, he was asked, does he want Fury again, and would he be willing to go through someone like Deontay Wilder to get there? And he says, it's not really about, he's not so much looking at, I want this guy so much, as opposed to him wanting to get better. And I like the way Adrien is talking. He's not acting all arrogant and, acting like because he beat Breazeal, he's ready for a title shot. Adrien has a lot of work to do and a long way to go before you start putting him in here with the top guys, man. He was a cherry pick for Tyson Fury. Let's not get that twisted. And he held his own, But let's not get ahead of ourselves and start thinking Wallin is better than what he is. And there's no need to rush him in there into a fight where you start putting him in here with guys he's not ready for. He's not high off of what he did against Fury. And that's cool. That's cool. If he can improve, okay, if he's one of those fighters that actually learn what's going on, he can capitalize on his mistakes and realize what he needs to do to become a better fighter. Yeah, why not? If he was still walking around here hollering Fury, 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 then it would definitely look like a situation. It would be more realistic that the situation would be that he's going to wind up losing to someone because he had a good showing against Fury, and now he thinks like he's ready for everybody else. No, and one of the best things that could happen to him too also is because Fury's not a big puncher. You know what I'm saying? He has weight behind his shots. If he sits down on his shots, yeah, he can get some weight behind his shots. And he can put some hurt on you, but he's still not a devastating puncher, even then. Um, it's one of these things, man. I use this as a comparison because a lot of people give certain fighters status of legendary and great. But if you look at their careers, like I said, Ken Norton was a guy that I look back at his stuff and I'm like, okay. But I look at Ken Norton and I said, damn, Ken Norton got destroyed in one round by Jerry Cooney. And people said, oh, but Norton was old. Well, when he was young, he got destroyed in one round by Ernie Shavers. When he was young, he got destroyed in 4 rounds by George Foreman. And his claim to fame was his 3 fights with Muhammad Ali. Stylistically, he was able to bother Ali, but at the same time, Ali wasn't the same fighter, which is basically Ali still chose to get in the ring. So what he had is what he had, and Ali still wound up becoming world champion after that as well. But if you take that out the way, he had a good fight with Larry Holmes. He had a great fight with Larry Holmes. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you look at a person's career and you say, well, outside of losing and having a good showing, because he lost to Larry Holmes, he beat Ali, he broke his jaw in the fight, and he won the fight. And then I felt like Kid Norton won the 3rd fight. But again, Ali was not the same fighter. So my point is, because you had a good showing against Ali 3 times, that didn't automatically mean that you're going to beat a Norton. You couldn't beat Norton. A Foreman. You couldn't beat Foreman. You couldn't beat Shavers. He didn't fight Joe. But it was just things that, you listen to people talk and they're like, oh, this guy would have destroyed, he would have did this, he would have did that. And well, damn, he wasn't destroying guys in his own era. Like, what do you mean? Nobody that was worthy. Who did he destroy? Who did he beat that make you say that this guy would have did all this and that? So other than beating Ali, it's like Antonio Tarver. I think he was a good fighter, but Antonio Tarver beat Roy. If you take Roy out the picture, nobody talks about it. You're not even talking about Antonio Tarver. And look at what happened when he fought Bernard Hopkins. You understand? He didn't have a long title reign, and it took him forever to finally get there. And then people said, oh, it's because Roy was ducking him, and they made all these excuses up. But it's like, no, some fighters, they get the rub because of who they beat, okay, or who they fought. So to say that he fought this guy, this guy, this guy, now if he doesn't get that win against Ali, what is it that you really say about Norton? You understand what I'm saying? So beating Tyson Fury, and I say that and use that as a reference too, as a comparison, because people a lot of times they refer to Tyson Fury as the Ali of this generation, his style, and say he fights like Ali and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, you had a good showing against Tyson Fury, but he knows himself that he's still a work in progress. And I wish him nothing but the best. Dominic Breazeal, I don't feel like what way he's ranked in different sanctioning bodies. I don't feel like he's going to lose. He'll be knocked down in the rankings, but how far, I don't know. We've seen weird things happen. I mean, look at Bermance Deverne. He didn't fight since he got destroyed by Deontay Wilder. He comes back to a fight and he's the mandatory for a world title fight. How? So don't expect Dominic Breazeal to go away. I don't see him being productive as a heavyweight, as a fighter. I think Dominic Breazeal understands boxing. I think that he'll probably make a good trainer, a good coach. I think he knows what to do. He just physically can't do it himself. So I think he's one of those fighters, because if you listen to him talk, he has a good understanding of boxing. But Dominic Breazeal is done, man. He's been done. So this is nothing new. Wallin pretty much won every round, maybe like the last, maybe from like the 8th round on, 8th and 9th started. He took his foot off the gas, like he was a little tired. He also looked like he knew he had the lead, so he was just being careful, cautious, because he completely was winning the fight easily. So and that's why Dominic Breazeal was able to step up a little bit, because Wallin stopped fighting. You know, he pretty much, you know, like I said, took his foot off the gas. And so that's all that was. But at the same time, Wallin got the win, and we'll see where he goes from here. Now, next fight I'm going to talk about, Adrien Broner. Him and Santiago. Look, Jovanie Santiago he was 14 now. Okay. After 2 years being out, and after seeing Adrien Broner underperform in so many fights, I don't expect Adrien Broner to come back against a guy like Josh Taylor. You know, a guy like Mario Barrios, Jose Ramirez. Those guys will beat him. You know, what's this guy? Regis Prograde. Those guys will destroy Adrien Broner. What I saw from Adrien Broner was the same Adrien Broner. He won't let his hands go. He only threw like 300-something punches. I forget the number, 380-something or 300-something punches through the whole fight. Okay? There's guys at 140 that will beat him. That he, in all honesty, in fairness, let me say this. I think a lot of people expect more out of Adrien than what he's able to do. He's not able to produce what people expect of him. Adrien is 31 now. And what's so funny is it seemed like it was just yesterday, man, when I remember him being 20-something years old. And I remember Paulie Malignaggi told him one time, hey, man, listen, take advantage of it, man. It doesn't last forever, man. Because all of these hiatuses he takes, man, he's in the ring, he loses, he disappears. You know, it's like he said he had $13 coming into this fight. Now he has $13 million. And one of the things he said was, you know, the rest of this weekend we're gonna pop bottles and have party and have sex, and then Monday he's back to the gym. He admitted that he was drinking a lot. He admitted, you know, and said that he stopped doing some things. But see, here's the thing. Every single time Adrien Broner loses a fight, this is the kind of stuff that we hear him say. He stopped doing this. He changed his life. He says the same exact things every single time. So now he's explaining the things he said he stopped doing. One thing that he said that doesn't look positive for him is he's saying, keep me in the ring, keep me active, listen, you're a 31-year-old grown man, okay? You're not a little kid, man. You're not a child. You have to keep yourself out of trouble. You have to keep yourself focused and stay busy, you know? And the thing is, to feel like because there's nothing to do, you can't go anywhere, you can't do much of nothing, like, why do you choose to do things that you know that's going to incriminate you? Why do you choose to do things that you know it's not going to work out in your favor? So it's not anybody else's responsibility to keep you out of trouble, man. You're not a minor. That's what you do with minors. I mean, hell, minors want to go out on their own. They want to be able to go out and do something and don't have their parents to tell them what to do. They want to be able. You're 31 years old, man. We won't ever see that 20-something-year-old Adrien Broner again. That version of him is done. This Adrien Broner, now, you know, he needs to work on his defensive skills. And since he likes to counter, he needs to counter and throw combinations, get in, get out. Because Adrien's a flat-footed fighter. Okay? He needs to evolve. he needs to evolve. He needs to add things to his arsenal that he doesn't have, that he hasn't used, and it's not easy when you're not used to doing these things. His reflexes aren't the same. He struggled. This guy that he fought, Jovanie Santiago, he has 14 fights against guys who has done nothing. Okay, I said he needed to win big. Now I'm pretty sure people who are diehard Adrien Broner fans they feel happy the fact that he got the W. They don't care about nothing else. They'll say things like, well, there's other fighters who people felt like lost and they got it, so so what? That's the childish side of things. If Adrien Broner, okay, if the decision had went to Santiago, and I'm being honest with you, I thought Adrien Broner lost the fight. I didn't feel like he won the fight. And when I listened to Adrien talk, he said he felt like he won at least 8 rounds. He said he think he lost maybe only 3. Only 3 rounds out of 12. Okay? And I'm saying to myself, if Adrien Broner, if that decision would have went to Santiago, he would have started saying he got robbed. See, this is why I be doing what I do, because I don't care, because nobody, he would just, listen. If him and his team think that they won 8 rounds, I mean, lost only 3 rounds, okay? If that's what they truly think, you got to look at it like this, okay? You're saying that you won 9 rounds. Where? They obviously wasn't really paying attention to the body shots. I don't feel like you should get points for just because you're coming forward bringing pressure. No, just because you're coming forward don't mean nothing. If you're coming forward and the guy's outlanding you, hey, I mean, the most you can say is, well, he's the one pressing forward. Okay, what does that mean if you're not effective? But he was effective. And the thing is, for him to struggle with a guy like Santiago, man, Santiago is not nowhere near Josh. Can you imagine Adrien Broner fighting Josh Taylor the way that's the same Adrien Broner we just saw? Look, this is the same Adrien Broner we've been seeing for the longest time now. He's not going to turn the clock back and just become more athletic. No. But if he can't add things to his game, one of the things that look, when you counterpunch, right? Especially when you counterpunch with one shot and you're not getting the guy out of there. You got to counterpunch, but you need to work behind that jab and some movement. And when you can counter and throw combinations on top of that, because he has the hand speed still, his confidence don't seem like it's the same. Now you see he was able to, for him to only throw 300-something punches in a 12-round fight. You're fighting in a division where guys throw a lot of punches. They have a much higher work rate. So I'm seeing with this guy, if he stands there, he's going to get hit. He was getting hit with jabs. He was just getting hit. And, you know, he was talking about his jab like he was using it for 12 rounds. His jab wasn't effective all night long. You know, and if you're that reluctant to throw punches against a guy with 14 fights, and not just a guy with just 14 fights, but Santiago is not an elite level fighter. By no means is he. What are you gonna do against a Josh Taylor, man? A Regis Prograde? What are you gonna do against these guys? You know what I mean? What are you gonna do against a Mario Barrios? These guys throw a lot of punches and they're accurate. And they look, these guys, they come to fight. They gonna bring that pit bull to the fight. That's who they are. So if you struggle with Santiago, even to say, well, it was probably ring rust, he ain't fighting 2 years. That's why he chose Santiago. Now, he's going to say that, yeah, they asked him about who else does he want to fight, and he said, I know they're going to come with somebody else that's tough, and yeah, but if they feed you C-level fighters, and you're struggling with these guys now, how much better are you going to actually get? Because one of the things that Adrien has had a problem with for a long time now is not letting his hands go. And so, like I'm saying, if he used some movement off that jab, use the jab, use movement, you know, learn how to set traps, man. Learn how to not be there and let guys get off on you first. You know, the thing is, he spends time that trying to wait the counter. Then it's like he won't counter. He'll just stand there and he'll move. He'll get hit. He'll move. Then he'll throw that, throw a jab. one shot at a time, and basically you're going to get beat. I don't see him. All those guys I just named, they will destroy Adrien Broner. Not just beat him, they will destroy him, man. Adrien Broner, I want to see him win. But I'm also a realist. I don't see him really improving as a fighter. Because what I'm seeing with Adrien is when you bring pressure, you saw this in the Maidana fight. He doesn't like pressure. Out of all the fights that he lost, that was the best showing that he had against Maidana. Because against Maidana, he was trying. He was fighting back. Maidana was just taking it to him. And you saw he doesn't like pressure, man. And again, Adrien's a flat-footed guy. So even though he has fast hands and throws flashy shots, he's flat-footed. And I'm seeing that his reflexes wasn't the same. And let's just say if he fights again, and let's say he gets sharper, right? But it's against another Santiago type fighter. How does that make you feel confident that he's going to beat a guy like a Josh Taylor, man? A Regis Prograde, a Mario Barrios? How? You know, Jose Ramirez. These guys are animals, man. They're not going to go in there and hold back, and they're not worried about Adrien Broner. And they know that if you just pressure Adrien Broner, that he's not the same. Adrien looks better. The less pressure you put on him, he'll get off. Okay? Remember when Roy Jones fell off? But you remember those guys who were still scared of Roy Jones' hand speed, and they would stand there, and then Roy looked better with those guys who stood there and just tried to wait because he was too fast for them. But you see, if they pressure Roy was like not the same guy. And really, that's what you're seeing with Adrien Broner. He's not letting his hands go. And it's not about just throwing punches just to throw them. I don't see his IQ, his boxing IQ sharpening up. This is what I'm saying as well. See, and the older you start getting, you know, you hear fighters say, I'm going to win a fight with this. You understand what I mean? We've seen, like, Bernard Hopkins do it forever. Certain fighters have it where they understand, okay, I need to add more elements to my game. And Adrien Broner, man, is like, I don't see an improvement. And like I said, okay, he had 2 years off. Can't change what happened. This fight is behind him, but I felt like he lost the fight. Now, let's see if this motivates him. And the thing is, like I said in the last video, if money is his key motivation, if it works for him, hey. But the thing about it is, when that pressure start coming on you and you start getting hit with shots, it's a difference when you're doing it out of hunger and desire, more so than just for the money. Because you might look and say, man, look, I just made $13 million. I'm making, you know, X amount for this fight. And think about this. He got $13 million for fighting Santiago. So you know that this was a fight where they wanted to help Adrien, and that's fine. Boxers don't have a pension, and let me say, they don't have a pension. They don't have a retirement plan. So I know a lot of people say, oh, these fighters fight for the money. Let me just tell y'all all something, okay? Okay. Fighters back in the day, there's no fucking fighter, okay? Let me tell all of you something. There's no fucking fighter, okay, to put on gloves and get in the ring that don't do it for the fucking money. Okay, I don't give a fuck what comes out their mouth. They can tell you, oh, I just love to fight. Yeah, okay, fine. This is a job, bro. This is a paycheck for them. Okay? This is a job. This is not a fucking, oh, if that's the case, they wouldn't have to get paid then. Nothing. They would just go in there for free. They would do backyard boxing. They would do some shit just because they like to fight. Okay? Especially now with COVID where there's no crowds and the money's not the same. And definitely for guys who are up and coming. There's no fighter who just does this just to fight. And I can tell you, the younger you are, the dumber you are. Because you think like, yeah, you're invincible and that you can just do this shit forever. And then one day it hits you. You're 34, 35, you're broke as fuck. You got all these fights and highlight reels, but you got nothing to show for it. So when you walk away from boxing, is your fucking applause and praise going to pay fucking rent, pay mortgage, put food on the table? No. No, you sitting here talking about who was great and who was this and ranking fighters. Don't feed them. They have nothing outside of boxing. Some of them are fortunate that they may can be able to become commentators. They might have, you know, if they can be a part of somebody's camp that, train people or be in a gym or something like that. But everybody don't have the same fortune. Okay, I mean that's in anything that you do entertainment wise. Okay, I was just looking at Sly Stone's watching his documentary, and this guy's homeless, man. He living in a trailer, and next to these people's house, they let him come in and shower. All these records he got, #1 songs, and all the people could tell about how great of a musician he was. But what did he have to show for it, right? So imagine you're in a sport where you don't look. You think football players and basketball players are not doing this shit for the money? Of course, they for great players, you can say, yo, they love the sport that they're in, that's fine. Or they like the sport they're in, that's fine. Football is a grueling sport, man. Okay, basketball, they get injured, they get hurt. You see guys miss a whole season. It all, but if you think it's not for the money, you're stupid. Because if that's the case, they could have just went to college, got their degree, and whatever they went to school for, they could have took a job in that. So don't be fooled with that bullshit. Oh, fighters back in the day, okay, to be honest with you, and I've talked about this before, they were always told, you train, make sure you take care of the fighting part. We'll take care of the business part. And all these fighters ended up broke, man. And when you end up punch drunk, you got no money in the bank, you got no money to take care of yourself. Then you got guys, oh man, that's RIP champ, you were one of the greatest. What does that mean? You think that, imagine if somebody was homeless. Imagine somebody hooked up to machines. Imagine if they knew people were saying these things about them. Do you think that that is an even trade? I wouldn't change my condition for the world. Because if I wasn't hooked up to these machines, if I wasn't laying up here brain dead, if I wasn't laying up here in a coma, or, then these people wouldn't feel for me the way they do. Do you think that they care about that more than their health? So all fighters do it for the money. All fighters, okay? At the end, there's a lot easier ways to try to make money than to go into boxing. People think, oh, it's just easy money. No, boxing is a grueling sport, man. Okay, you're getting punched in your face, your head, your ribs, your hips, your arms, your elbows, your shoulders, or whatever. And when guys don't make, I've been in the locker room with people. I've seen fighters come and piss blood out. I know what it's like. So when these people are talking about, oh, fighters are old, they all fought for leg, no, that's bullshit, man. That is bullshit. And let me tell you something. Fighters back in the day had less control. They had less say-so. And they fought who the fuck they made them fight. And they still ended up broke. So I don't care if you're talking about Ray Robinson. I don't care if you're talking about Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnson, okay, Joe Louis, all these guys ended up broke. So showing their highlight reels and talk about how great they was is not going, okay, to do anything to change the status of their health. So I would always encourage a fighter, make as much money as you can. Okay, and let's say this too, okay? If money means nothing, I don't like when people try to hide behind their popularity. I don't think it's cool when people try to use their money as a way to say, oh, I'm better than you because I know all that kind of stuff. But okay, for example, what do I tell you guys about the heavyweights? Whoever Anthony Joshua fights, I want Anthony Joshua to win. Did you see me make a video about how much money he has? What does that have to do with boxing? I don't care about that. Hey, I'm glad for him. I wish him nothing but the best. You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, there's many videos up right now saying that Anthony Joshua is the first $100 million British fighter, and that he may very well pass Floyd Mayweather as far as money. Well, you see how people quick to say, oh man, all that money don't mean nothing, but yet you're quick to do stories about money. How much money somebody's worth. So, look, it's a business. It's a business first. And if you think money don't mean nothing, well, try to sell a fight to the networks that they don't believe in and see how that goes. Go to a promoter and say, I want to fight this guy and I'm asking for X amount of money, and see how they laugh in your face. At the end of the day, like I said, Adrien was able to pull some strings because he got 13 million to fight an unknown. So you want to make as much money as you can, and you want to be as healthy as you can. For Adrien Broner, I don't see much change in him. He seems to feel like, you know, oh, he don't like when somebody says they think he's washed up or he's not the same fighter, but he failed to realize everybody's going by his own actions in the ring. Now, because you say you see things differently, you know, this whole childish thing, everybody's a hater, whatever, nonsense. Adrien Broner is as good as he's going to be. He's as good as he's going to get. I don't see Adrien Broner doing anything to improve. Now, that's yet to be seen. And I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that, hey, like I said, I'm not afraid to be wrong. But looking at his actions and looking at what I saw in that ring is the same. He held back against Pacquiao. He held back against Porter. He held back against Mikey Garcia. The only, like I said, the only fight that he lost, that his best performance was the one was his worst, was against Maidana, because he was fighting back. He was trying. Against these other guys, he wouldn't let his hands go. And it's the same Adrien Broner. So there's guys that I would keep him far away from. To be honest with you guys, see, the problem with Adrien, because he talks so much trash. So then he gets in there and then he underperforms. That's the problem. To be honest with you, I think those guys will destroy Adrien Broner. That the guys that I named already, okay, in his division. And is Adrien Broner going to stay at 140 or 147? Because he's saying that it's hard to train and cut the weight like you want to because you can't go nowhere. Because if he goes to 147, do you see him beating Sean Porter? He already lost to Porter. Do you see him beating Terrence Crawford? Do you see him beating Keith Thurman? Do you see him beating Errol Spence? So what's the purpose? I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be honest. I think Adrien is doing this because he needs money. He's saying that boxing gives him the best satisfaction. I believe that's just a politically correct thing for him to say. I think, honestly, with Adrien, it's too soon, first of all, to even jump in there with any of those guys, you know, Regis and Mario, you know what I mean? Guys like that. But let me be honest with you. I don't think he'll beat them regardless. I think with Adrien, I mean, listen, his career and his choice, he's his own man. But I think he should make as much money as he possibly can and retire. Or make as much money as he possibly can before he get in there with those guys. So that way, if he does lose and he retire, he's made multi-millions. Because he's only going to get older. And he's not going to turn the clock back. It's just things that he needs to add to his game that he has to. And you don't have to be young to do it. Okay, younger to do it. It's just you have to be able to do it. And if he can't, then it's going to be an uphill battle in every fight that he has. Okay? And I don't see him beating any of those guys. So that's just my assessment on Adrien, man. I didn't see any change in him. And if the 2 years out the ring if it played a part, again, what is he going to do different in the next fight when he just don't let his hands go? So styles make fights. And let's just say if you can get him in there with somebody that he can just really shine on. See, that's the problem. That will open up the doors to, oh, yeah, look, Regis Prograde, Mario Barrios, and these guys, they're not a bigger name than Adrien Broner. I guarantee you those guys ain't making no 13 fucking million in the fight. They're not a bigger name than Adrien Broner. But they're better fighters than Adrien Broner. So Adrien Broner has options to fight lesser opponents, make as much money as he possibly can, and look, like I said, by the time he get to one of those guys, maybe, you know, he'll make more money the next fight. Let's just say, if he get 3 or 4 fights in, and then just retire or fight one of them. Because he's not going to fight all 4 of them motherfuckers that I just named. That would be suicide. Because he's going to, in my opinion, he loses to all of them. And he's saying he'll beat this guy and that guy. And, you know, but the bigger picture and what's more important is once you walk away, your life after boxing. For all that money that he made and blew, if Adrien Broner doesn't smarten up, he'll do the same thing and think like, oh, okay, because he think he'll, like, just for example, if he get these C-class fighters and he beats them, I feel like he lost the fight last night. But if he gets those C-class fighters and he beats them, and let's say if his head stays swelled up and he's feeling like, oh, okay, I can just keep making money, I got this, and now all of a sudden I'm rich again. You understand? And if that's the motivation, that could be devastating for him. But it's up to him, and he's his own man, and he needs to understand that this game, you know, he'll say it, but he needs to really understand, feel it. This game is grimy, it's dirty, and it's a grueling sport, man. And if you're gonna go in there and struggle with guys like Santiago, I wouldn't put him in there with anybody that's better than Santiago. Not right now, if at all. And he just needed to stop talking so much. Make his money, and you know what? People can say what they want, but he's a 4-time world champion. He can walk away with multi-millions of dollars in his pocket. Let's just say the 13 he made. Let's just say Adrien Broner can walk away with, like, just say $100 million in the bank. He's set for life. As long as he don't go out there and, now I'm not boxing anymore, I can go party and screw and do all this dumb shit and buy a bunch of stupid cars and all this stuff that I don't need. If he get with the right people, learn how to manage his money and I don't know, become a businessman, do something. But he has to be more intelligent than what he showed. And I'm saying all these things because, in all honesty, I think people, they look at you when you're an athlete, when you're a celebrity, like you're anything other than human. Like you don't have feelings, like you don't go through things. So I've been, every time Adrien fight, I'm always pulling for Adrien to win. But at the same time, you got to be real, okay? Because you can sit here and praise what he did last night and yeah, he won. And see, yeah, it's for the brothers, man. Yeah, we did. No, see, at the end of the day, bro, I want to see you win. I don't think you won that fight. But, hey, you got the W. You got to sharpen up. Got to tighten up. You know, at the end of the day, bro, you're going to get to a point where you don't have any of that shit left. And like I said, I could see his reflexes wasn't the same. He was getting hit with jabs. He was most of the time when he got hit because he was standing still. He doesn't move like he used to. And even when he does move, he doesn't give his opponent much to worry about when they're coming in. So there's a lot of things that I saw. I can see his skills they are deteriorating. This is what I'm saying. Adrian's not the same guy. Stop looking for that 20-something-year-old Adrien. He's done. That Adrien is done. Okay? Father Time is a different opponent. Adrien is, even when he was throwing his shots, his hands didn't look as fluid. The shots wasn't as fluid. You know, he's getting that, like when the fight starts getting older and the shots like they throwing it halfway. That's how he was throwing his shots. You know, he still got something left in the tank, but to struggle with a guy like Santiago, I'm not impressed by that, man. I'm not impressed by that. And there's a lot of guys at 140 and 147 that would destroy Adrien Broner. And instead of just going in there just for the paycheck and getting killed, man, like I said, I'd put him in, honestly. I'll be honest with him. Look, man, for what you're trying to do and what you want to accomplish, you got to sharpen up. And if I'm not seeing improvements in the gym, it's like I said, man, stop talking so much. Stop all this, you know, running your mouth about how great you are, and yada yada, and you're gonna do this and now all this bullshit. I changed my life. I did this and this and that, and then go back to insulting people 5 minutes later in the conversation and all that. You know, I just feed him some C-class fighters. Adrien, this is a business move. Make your money, ride off into the sunset, man. Now, if he can get into a super mega fight, well, let's just say he get into a fight with somebody I don't see anybody at 140 with a name like that. I see skill and talent there, but I don't see anybody with a name where he'll get one of those $30 million fights. Where he's going to get a Floyd or a Canelo or AJ type, deal against somebody. But if that can happen and he can build to that, so be it, man. But Adrien right now, I'm looking at an exit strategy for this guy, man. Adrien Broner underperformed last night. He's not the same fighter. And this is not like people. I'm angry. No, I'm not angry. I don't feel anything. You understand what I mean? I'm just bringing the boxing news to you guys, and I'm giving you my opinion based on what I saw. And you guys, like I said, you keep sitting there crossing your fingers, hoping that the old Adrien comes back, just like everybody thought at some point the old Roy's going to come back. No, the old Ray Leonard's going to come back. The old Terry Norris is going to come back. The old Thomas. No. Father Time is an opponent nobody can beat. You may be able to, some guys can last longer than others, but that's it. At some point, your time comes. And if he can walk away and the money he lost, if he can make that money back and more, and just, hey, you got your health intact, you got plenty of money in the bank, your family don't have to want for nothing, hey, man. Hey, I mean, you got to take a couple of courses, take some business management courses, learn how to manage your money, do something and make investments. People talk all this nonsense. You notice how many people are always saying Floyd is broke? That's why he's coming back to do these exhibitions. That Floyd is broke. Floyd is about to turn 44 years old, and people still hating on this guy. They want to see Floyd lose so bad. They want to stay. This, you know what this is? Remember, y'all, for y'all that saw next Friday, Ice Cube. Remember that scene with the Spanish girl was across the street, and Ice Cube saw it, and he was, oh man, who was that? Remember his cousin Day Day, Mike Epps? You ain't gonna get it. I'm telling you, you ain't gonna get it. I hope you don't get it. That's what that is. I hope Floyd is broke. I want to see him broke. I hope he's broke. And that's why every time you hear these, Floyd is broke, then all of a sudden Floyd have somebody come to his mansion. He just bought a brand new car. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It pisses them off because they want to see this man broke. They want to see him. What they hope happen to Floyd is that Floyd loses money and have to come back to doing the one thing that he did best, and that was boxing. And that Father Time is going to kick him in the ass before he even get in the ring. They're hoping so bad that happens to Floyd, man. Why do you think that? I don't care if it's 50 Cent, if it's Oscar De La Hoya, whoever, they're always saying he's broke. Oh, he's broke, he's broke. Why would you wish that on a person, anyway? But at the same time, let's look at Adrien Broner. If that is his motivation to get back in the ring, as long as he's winning his fights. And the thing is, let's say he fight and the same type of thing happens where he really loses the fight, but they give the decision to him anyway. Only the core fans are going to be happy with that. I'm not hating on it either way, but I just feel like, man, that was bullshit. Because he really lost that fight. But, hey, man, it is what it is. Look, this is all I'm going to say on this video. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And that's not just a slogan. That's damn reality. And I will catch y'all on the next video.